Hey everyone, ET here, and I wanted to do a video because today is a special day. It was 1 year ago from this evening that the Phoenix Dawn Kickstarter ended and has forever changed my life. And my life kind of changed when I decided to do this and leaving Apple last summer, but it would have been short-lived if it hadn't been for all 859 of you last summer who saw the project, backed it, talked to their family and friends. So I know I say it all the time, but I sincerely mean it. Thank you so much for believing me, backing this project, and continuing to do so as we develop the story and the game. You guys have really been the best 859 people that could possibly have backed this project. So thank you, because you really have changed my life forever. So I want to talk about kind of what the last year has been, just kind of some high-level recaps, but then also talk about some exciting new things that I want to announce today on the video regarding the game. So yeah, it's just kind of hard to believe that it's already been a year. As you all know, time just goes by like this. But the last year has been filled with so many really amazing memories and really a lot of milestones that have kind of given apixal and Phoenix Dawn the foundation that it needs to be a really successful game. So as you know, right after the Kickstarter ended, one of the thoughts that was going through my mind is how can I make these Kickstarter funds stretch as far as possible. And so at the time I was living in Chicago by myself in this 2-bedroom apartment, and I was like, well, if I'm going to be programming, I don't really need to be paying all this money for rent. So and knowing that I wanted to start a legitimate company, doing that in like New York City or Chicago, I'd be a very small fish in a big pond. So I was born and raised in a small town in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I thought, you know what, that's where all my family is, and if I can move the business there and stay with mom and dad in the basement on the typical entrepreneurial startup scenario, but maybe that would, one, extend funds, and two, maybe Wyoming and Cheyenne would be excited to have a video game company in the state. And it's kind of funny now, when we picked up our sales tax permit maybe about a month ago, Wyoming is the least populated state in the United States, so there's not a lot of people here. So the guy who issued us our sales tax permit, pretty much knows every single business in the state. So I asked him, I said, so are we the first video game company in the state of Wyoming? And he confirmed that we were. So that was kind of cool. And he kind of knew we were coming. He's like, oh, it's so exciting to have a new tech company here. And because the tech companies in Cheyenne and Wyoming really aren't, Wyoming's not known for that. So it's moving back home and starting the business here in Cheyenne has been a wonderful and probably one of the most impactful decisions that I made. It's given us a lot of exposure to media and the press, but also to really just come back to my roots and start something that's different here. So I moved in October, and then I got home, and then it really turned to getting some of the rewards out, some of the physical rewards like the t-shirts and the hoodies and things like that. So we shipped those, and that was kind of the first really fun thing, because then after you guys started receiving your packages, my feed started filling up with pictures of you and your apixal t-shirts and I Believed in Magic, and it was just really cool to kind of see that merchandise kind of go out and to see you guys really representing apixal and Phoenix Dawn around the world. So that was kind of a really first cool milestone. And then kind of the next big thing that happened in December, which I've talked about in other Kickstarter updates, was I connected with a gentleman here in Cheyenne. His name is Josh Walker, and he and I went to high school together. We weren't friends or anything, but we knew of each other. And we started talking about the story of the game, and he had published a novel prior and just let me know and said, hey, if you ever want to do a story, let me know. And I was like, you know what? We decided to make a role-playing game, and when people think of role-playing game, they think of characters and story. So like I've said before, story is such a pivotal part of a role-playing game. It's not always going to be the most pivotal part in other types of games, but for a role-playing game, having a good story and having characters is really important. So it's like, maybe this would be in our best interest to really flesh out the game story, create these characters, create the world, and do a book and see if people like the route that we go in. That also would be a good indication of whether or not that our ideas are still good. Like if people read the book and they don't like the book, then it really is not a good foreshadowing of what people are going to think about the game. So we started working on the novel and the storyline in December of last year. And as we were working on that, I was piecing together the game. But then the apixal team was kind of coming together in a really interesting way. Being here with family, it was just really wonderful. I'd been away from home for 10 years, so coming home and reconnecting with my brother and my sister, we started talking about apixal and all this kind of stuff. And it was in January that I signed pretty much my entire family up to help out with making the game, and it was really awesome because we've always been close as a family, but to work with your family in such an intense environment and something that none of us have ever done before was really a risk. But that risk has definitely paid off, because then shortly afterwards, we started pushing out some images, and one of the organizers from Denver ComicCon reached out to us and said if we were interested in showing there. So we submitted, and we got an email like late January that we were going to be showing Phoenix Dawn and have like a little small booth at the Denver ComicCon in May of this year. So that really was kind of the big, what do you call it, like a big spark, right? So we really started focusing on mechanics and the environment and different kind of things that we wanted, and we really worked hard from that time all the way through May and putting together like an environmental preview for Comic-Con in May. And the Comic-Con was great because, one, my sister dressed up as one of our characters from the book, The White Witch. And so she actually got a lot of attention. People really liked her look. They didn't know who she was, but they really liked how she looked. And so it really was an awesome way of saying, here's a character that we designed that's going to be in our game, in our book. And we had a lot of people come to our booth. We had, it was very nerve-wracking because it was the first time outside of the Kickstarter that we were putting something that we've only seen out to the public, and the public isn't always nice. They're going to tell you that they like it or they don't like it. So it was really reassuring that we got so much positive feedback on what we had done and the characters. So we came back from Comic-Con at the end of May just really, really pumped that we were working on something really special. And then the couple months in the summer was really about getting the book polished and getting it out for the world and kind of seeing what people thought of our storyline. So, we worked on that, and then it was a month ago from today, on August 29th, that we released Phoenix Dawn and the Rise of the Witch novel. So this is it, and I'm sure you guys have seen it all on the stuff, but it was just... it was one of those moments that, when you see something like this and you spent so much time working on it and to really see it come together, it was a really special moment. We partnered with an amazing artist, Gareth Davies, who I was kind of following on Instagram and really liked his art style. And he did 26 original illustrations, including the cover and Phoenix versus Lazarus, and really, really proud of what happened. And, it's been out for a month now, and the reception, I think, has been incredibly positive. People who have read it really have enjoyed it, thought it was a unique story. And for those of you who aren't aware, excuse me, get some water, is that the book is broken down into 3 acts. So the first 2/3 of this book is really kind of the prequel to the game. So the 3 acts are called the Mother, the Father, and the Daughter. And so really it sets up this world of might in our RPG game. And then the final act, the Daughter, which is Phoenix, is the game story, is the complete game storyline. And the way that we wrote it, it was, here's Act 3. And I put a spoiler alert on there because, obviously it's the game story. We're not going to change the ending or anything like that. But if you want, we didn't want to, if I was a player and I read the book, I didn't want the game to be completely a non-surprise. So, obviously you can read up to Act 2 and stop there if you don't want to know anything about the game and kind of just live that while you're playing. But also be aware that if you do decide to read the final act of the book, that we're going to cover a lot more in the game. We're going to branch out, and for those of you who've read Act 3, you've probably noticed we wrote it in a way that kind of fast forwards through some parts because we wanted to tell those parts of the story in the game instead of the novel. And we didn't want to deviate from the novel, so if anything, we wanted the game to complement our story and add to it and not take away or to be separate from the book. So. And like I think I posted a message like 2 months ago, I know this wasn't a part of the initial Kickstarter, but I had to make a decision. I felt that by doing something like this, not only gave us some opportunity to get some feedback about our story ideas, but also to get it out there. But then, most importantly, like to really put that story into concrete. And so, I offered this book as an ebook and PDF for free for all of you. And so if you haven't done so, please find that Kickstarter update is for Kickstarters only. I think it's 2 or 3 updates ago. Submit your request and I'll get that to you within the next 72 hours. And then if you would like one of these beautiful paperbacks, you can order one from apixal.com, and for Kickstarters only, we will sign the books. So unless you live here in Cheyenne, you come hunt us down or come to a book signing, Kickstarters are the only ones who can order a signed copy to be shipped to them. So, and for those of you who are international, the book is also available on Amazon, because the shipping costs were crazy for the book, and it really was like the book is $15 and the shipping was like 20 or 25. It was like 2 books, and I was like, that's crazy. So it is available on Amazon, and hopefully that will decrease on the international shipping costs. So hoping that, but that all kind of ties back to that same update, which I talked about. Obviously, the timelines have been really kind of crazy, and we've done a lot of learning and growing over this time. And so, it wasn't about it was really looking at the Kickstarter backers differently, instead of it just being like, oh, I invested in one project and it's done and now we're good. It was like, what, if things go well for us, you guys were the first fire sale. Like none of this would happen without you. And so that's kind of why I jokingly kind of turned into this Club 859 because the club, basically, how do you get into the club? You had to have backed the Kickstarter. That's the only way. How do you leave the club? You don't, because you back the Kickstarter, or unless you delete your account on Kickstarter. But looking at those reward tiers and thinking about how to change them, and not to remove anything, but how to add, because you guys have been incredibly patient while we've kind of worked on setting up the company, getting the story down, building out the game and things like that. And it's, like I said, a lot has happened over the last year. So what's going to happen is, as we release the game and things like that, we're going to constantly be thinking about how we can just add to those reward tiers, and once the game's done, I don't see the 859 club ever dissolving. I really want to, as long as apixal is around and as long as we're still around, to be able to continue to say thank you, to that initial group of people who believed and backed the project. So just kind of stay tuned. Those are just some mushying thoughts in my head. So we launched the book, and the next kind of big thing that's happening in our world is right after the Kickstarter ended last year. I got an email from the gaming producer at South by Southwest, which is a very large technology expo convention in Austin, Texas in March. And he'd emailed me about having Phoenix Dawn apply to be considered for one of the most anticipated independent upcoming games. And that was October of last year. I was like, there's no way that it'll be ready for that by March of this year. So, I said we'd love to consider next year and . So it was good. And then it was July of this year that he emailed me again. He's like, we're just now accepting applications. We're still very interested in screening Phoenix Dawn to see if it'd be something we'd be interested in showing at South by Southwest in March of 2016. And so we have a deadline of November 5th to put together a fully featured demo that we can submit to those judges. And so that's what we're working on right now, and things are coming along really good. I am here working every day of the week on it, and I have become such a programming guru. I'm a ninja, and I'm probably totally jinxing myself right now, but I'm really pleased with what's happening and where I've got to. And every Wednesday, we're still doing live feeds. Every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're showing kind of our builds and the progress and things like that. So actually tomorrow will be the first build that we're showing. I'm working on a build called A21 right now, which is kind of the first more polished build. So join us every Wednesday. It's fun. twitch.tv/apixelgames if you ever want to see kind of the game's progress and things like that. So our first goal is November 5th to get that demo done. And then our next kind of exciting goal is by the end of this year, we will be applying the game for Steam Early Access, and hopefully it will be on Steam later this year, which is super exciting, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that. So that's our goal, is to get this demo done and then to work on polishing what we have to get ready for Steam. So what that means is that in the next month, we're going to slowly start opening the door for testers. So I will send an update in the coming weeks regarding what that process looks like and things like that. And I will start from the top. So the people who pledge more, I'll go from the top and kind of go to the bottom and just slowly start bringing people in to test this demo, give us feedback. But we are now at that point where things are starting to kind of come together, and it'll be really nice to be able to kind of like put it out there, give me some feedback, let me know, and getting it ready for Steam Early Access. And then, of course, I'll have tons of updates when it comes to the Steam Early Access about giving you guys your keys to download the demo and things like that. So don't worry, all that stuff is coming. So yes, it's getting very exciting. And then once we submit the demo on November 5th, we'll find out mid-January if we're one of the top 30 submissions. And if we are one of the top 30 submissions, then we will be invited to go to Austin, Texas in March. And they're going to pay for pretty much everything for us to get us to Austin and to set up a booth where people at the show can vote and play the game and that kind of stuff, which literally, if we are one of the top 30, I will be flabbergasted. That probably is going to be the most significant moment outside of the Kickstarter. So I'm hoping, I'm praying, we're working really hard on it, but we'll find out. And if not, you know what? We've got to get a great game, get it on Steam Early Access by the end of the year, and hopefully people will go, hey, this is really cool. I really like the way it's shaping up. So very exciting stuff. So lots of updates here to come soon. But join us every Wednesday it's always good to talk to you and to show you the game and where we're at with that. So yeah, and we have some really interesting things. If we do get picked for the top 30, things are going to change significantly, because the biggest bottleneck in the development process over the last year regarding the game has just been inexperience. And we have been working so hard, but we're really in the groove now. And if we're able to get some additional funding come January, we're kind of looking at some angel investors. That money then will be used to hire just a handful of experienced people. That's probably the thing that we need the most right now. It's just experienced people that I can give direction to. But I also now know a lot about the programming world and obviously the 3D world. So as a leader, I feel it's important for me to know those things. So and there is some possibility that if we are picked for the top 30 to have some access to some investors. So that would be really, really good. So, we're just taking it one day at a time, making the best stuff that we possibly can. And, it's nerve-wracking. So, so I'll kind of wrap it up now, because now I just feel like I'm rambling. But really just want to say again, thank you. And I really hope for those of you who have read the book that is a confirmation that, we're not here to put out crappy stuff. I think the book is really well put together, and let me tell you, I had no idea how involved in formatting this stuff is. Every page is designed and every page is laid out the way it's supposed to be, and it's a lot of work. So I learned a lot about that in the process. So I really hope that you guys have enjoyed it. The best way that you can help us out right now is just help us get that word out. If you like the book, share it with your family and friends. Some of you may know who have worked on projects yourselves, half the battle is making something, and then the second half of the battle is getting it out to the world. So your help in getting this word out here will be incredibly important to our future success. So and keep that in mind when it comes to the game too. So yeah, I think I've covered all my bases. Trying to think if there's anything else that I've missed out on, because I know as soon as I turn this video off, I'm going to be like, oh, I forgot to talk about blah, blah, blah. But we've got testing coming up, a lot of updates, Steam Early Access by the end of the year, the book, South by Southwest. Yeah, so it's been really good. So I guess I'll kind of end with one piece of advice that someone asked me this a couple months ago. One piece of advice, what was the biggest thing that you've learned by kind of leaving your day job and kind of pursuing something you're very passionate about? And looking retrospectively, what I've come to realize, and it's no surprise, but that the mortal enemy of creativity and innovation is fear. And so many people will never follow their passion or follow their dreams because of fear. You're afraid to leave your job. You're afraid because there's so many more questions than there are answers, and it's paralyzing. And so many people are never going to be able to cross that threshold and face fear and move past it. And I faced that fear when I left Apple, and I faced it a couple times here the past year with the Pixel, where things get scary. When money starts running out, and and you still don't really know whether or not this is going to be successful or not, and it can be a paralyzing fear. And I know there are so many of those points that come where you want to give up, and you have to be smart about it. And I think that we were onto something really special, and facing that fear was probably the hardest thing, but the reason why certain people are able to break through. So if you have that passion, really you have to understand there is always going to be that fear. And when I was starting at Pixel, I was kind of waiting for the right time. When I was working at Apple, I was like, wow, I'll pay off some of my bills, I'll save up some more money, but you have to realize there's never going to be a good time to do something crazy like this. It's life happens, so that's where I was like, I can't wait. I'm just going to pick a date. And, like one of my favorite quotes is, an entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. And I think it's very true. And so you have to face your fear, but fear is something that is crippling. And so yeah, just stare fear in the face, and if you really believe in it and you think it's good, go for it. Like I said, even if all of this stuff does fall down, I will never now have the regret that I didn't try, starting my own company and making a video game. So, but that's not going to happen because this is going to be successful. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up now. Thanks again. What a cool day. What an amazing year. You've changed my life. You've changed not only my life, but you've changed so many lives of my family members who have kind of come on board. And hopefully that this kind of wave of change is not going to be the last. So continue to support us. Love you guys so much, and see you every Wednesday. Message me. I'm always available to talking. You guys are the absolute best, and hopefully, I'm still making you proud, and we're going to continue doing this, and we're going to make Phoenix Dawn and apixal is going to be, hopefully, like I said, something that not only I'm going to be proud of, but you guys will be like, wow, that's kind of a different Kickstarter. I'm kind of lucky I stumbled upon it, because you really did back a very unique Kickstarter, and you probably didn't know that when you did it. So hopefully this will all be a happily ever after end story, but still to be determined. So, all right, guys, I will see you around, and thanks again, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.